Good evening. Welcome to our evening reflection. We're so blessed these days with so many different translations of God's Word, the Bible, giving us different insights into familiar passages. And I want to look briefly this evening at just one verse which demonstrates, I think, this and shows how much we can learn from different translations. The verse I want to look at is in Hebrews 11, verse 27, which is part of a biography of Moses. And the different translations give us different slants on the character of Moses. The NIV version says, Moses persevered. The Revised Standard Version says, Moses endured. The Living Bible says, Moses kept going. The New English Bible says, Moses was resolute. And the Moffat translation says, Moses never flinched. And when you consider what Moses had to put up with in his long and active life, these are pretty remarkable descriptions. Moses endured despite the contempt of Pharaoh, probably the mightiest ruler of his time, who was determined not to let Moses have his way. We read Moses endured despite the stubbornness of the Hebrews, the children of Israel, his own people, who grumbled and complained and rebelled against him. Even when his own family, remember Miriam and Aaron, his brother and sister, even when they tried to get him to change his mind, we read he remained resolute. When 10 of the 12 spies he sent into the promised land to find out what was there, when they came back and they said the task was going to be too great, we read Moses kept to his purpose. He was able to overcome conspiracy against him. Even in his 80s, when God called him into a new challenge, he asked a few questions, but he was prepared to get on with it, get on with the task that God had given him to do. How did Moses achieve this? What was the secret of his endurance? Well, verse 27, that verse in the Living Bible tells us he persevered because he could see God right there with him. He had faith in the God who had called him. I don't know what sort of a day you've had, or what sort of a week it's been so far. Maybe you too are facing criticism or rumour. Maybe you're facing outright persecution from those you work with, or even from within your own family. Maybe you too are struggling to come to terms with what the Lord has been saying to you recently, with what he seems to be calling you to do. Maybe you or those you love are facing health problems. Some of you may have recently faced bereavement. Remember Moses. He faced all of these problems, but he endured because he trusted in God, who was right there with him. And we can do the same. whatever the pressures, whatever the problems, our God is greater. And we need to put our trust and our faith in him just as Moses did. Verse 27 said, "By faith Moses persevered because he saw him who was invisible." And so can we. Have a good evening.